Welcome to rSlash I Don't Work Here Lady, where a Waffle House employee gets mistaken for a stripper. Our next post is from Master Tinyface. I am a falconer, and I train birds of prey to flush unwanted birds from places for a living. My work often brings me to extremely fancy resorts, as this tends to be a bit of a bougie service. On this particular day, I was working at a 5-star resort. Only millionaires and billionaires stay here, so people tend to be entitled, keeping pigeons from their restaurant patio. I don't have a uniform, but I usually dress in nice hiking attire, and all the restaurant employees wear clearly marked uniforms with aprons and name tags. I had my phone plugged in behind the hostess podium, so I went in to check on it, hawk in hand. While I was responding to a text, a presumably rich white lady approaches me and says, "And there will be other people joining my party, so can you just..." I start to cut her off by waving a hand and shaking my head, but before I can indicate that she's talking to the wrong person, she responds with, "Oh, you don't speak English," as she rolls her eyes. You should know that I'm half Filipino and half white, giving me an ambiguously ethnic look, although I grew up in Southern California and Central Florida. Taken aback by this, I accidentally jerked my hawk back, causing him to flash his wings. This startled the rich white lady and said, "Actually, I speak plenty of English, but I don't work here, lady." You'd think the big hawk on my glove would give that away. She was unfazed and continued on her way, but her 2 teenage daughters were absolutely mortified. It turned out to be the funniest thing to happen to me all month. I'm just gonna breeze past how entitled that woman was, because what I can't get over is the idea of a hostess who is also a falconer. "Yes, ma'am, right this way. My hawk will show you to your table." Our next post is from Julia. So, my story begins several years ago when I was a waitress at Waffle House. It's not exactly an I don't work here story, but an I don't work there kind of situation. So, one morning after working a night shift, I stopped at a gas station to get some gas before going home. I'm exhausted and, may I add, in full uniform and everything, hat and apron included. I go to pay for my gas by pulling out my large wad of tips, mostly $1 bills. Out of nowhere, I hear this disgusted sound from the cashier, so I look up to meet her eyes. Here's the conversation. "You should be ashamed of what you do." Me, very tired and confused. "I'm sorry, what?" "You should be ashamed of being a stripper." She was acting all holier than thou. "Wow, where'd you get that from?" "You need to leave. I don't want trash in my store." "Lady, I'm a waitress. I'm in a waffle batter covered uniform." Yeah, whatever, just leave." The manager, who was in the office right behind her with the door open, called for her to the office and closed the door. I was still in shock when this lady came flying out of the office with her purse. "Rot in heck, stripper!" She yelled this at me before leaving the store. The manager came out of the office and apologized for the woman's behavior and said that she had been warned about it before and fired her on the spot. He gave me a free breakfast biscuit and some coffee for the trouble. I thanked him and paid for my gas. I was still in shock when I got home and told my mom what happened. This story gets better. A few days later, I'm in the dish pit washing dishes when the same woman comes in to speak to a manager. She didn't see me until she had finished speaking with him. She looked me straight in the eye before turning red and rushing out the door. I asked the manager what she wanted, and he said she wanted to know if we were hiring. I started laughing and explained to him that that's the woman from the gas station. Of course, I told my coworkers about it. She never came back. The only appropriate way for her to end that conversation in the gas station would have been, "Oh, my mistake. Your uniform is covered in waffle batter. I thought it was baby batter." Our next post is from Delightful Cat. I work for a very popular cranberry airline here in Germany. I don't work at the airport, but sometimes I have to check the planes and make sure the cabin crew is rested and that they have their legs all fulfilled. I also have to write reports. My uniform is dark red. I wear dark red slacks, black high heel pumps, a white button down, and a dark red blazer. There is no way in heck you could mistake me for anything other than an airline employee. Cue Easter. Easter was madness because the price of flights had dropped significantly. Everyone was flying. Children who definitely were not on spring break yet were traveling. It was very stressful. I spent most of the time at our base airport writing flight reports. I hate writing flight reports, and I thought a coffee would help me get through the task easier. So I got up, left the office, and went to the bakery in the security area of the terminal. This bakery makes the best latte around. Also, this bakery sports a nice white uniform which consists of a white polo shirt with the logo of the bakery on it. I was just about to order my extra big latte when this woman just stepped in front of me. She basically started yelling, "Hi, can I get," and rattled out her order. The bakery employee just looked at her and mentioned that I was first and in the middle of ordering something and that he would deal with me first before he could accept her order. This lady was an older, small lady with very white and long hair. She looked like a grandma, but she destroyed this image by basically screaming at me and the employee. "She is working here. She can get her stuff later. I have a flight to catch." I told the bakery dude that it was fine, that I can wait, and I asked the little lady what kind of flight she was taking in order to help her call the gate or something. Unfortunately, she took it as an insult. "You don't need to know which flight I'm taking. It's not your business. You should better clean the display. Look how dirty it is." And she smeared the glass of the display with her little hands. Apparently, she thought I worked at the bakery. I tried to explain multiple times that I was an airline worker and that the flight she is taking is likely to be one of the planes I'm managing because 75% of the flights at this airport were operated by us. She continued screaming and I stopped talking to her since it didn't make any sense to waste more time with her. For some reason, she didn't like my silence. She kept talking and berating me, telling me how I'm bad at my job, etc. I was thinking about following her to the gate to find out where she is flying to because this lady clearly wasn't stable enough to fly when she suddenly hit me with her luggage. To clarify, I wasn't prepared to get hit at all. Also, her luggage was heavy and it was one of those old suitcases that were made out of metal. Security got called by the employee of the bakery and they gave me the latte for free. This lady was actually a standby passenger on an overbooked flight, so she was definitely going to miss it. It wasn't a flight with the airline I work for, but the cabin crew heard of her behavior and banned her for this flight anyways. After this ordeal, I got back to the office to complete my flight records and I sighed. Because now I needed to write up an incident report for this crazy lady who just assaulted me. I just drank my coffee and got it over with. My foot has a bruise as big as a plate, by the way. I don't know what airports are like in Germany, but in America, if you assault another passenger, you are in a buttload of trouble. Also, I've got to point out, technically, this Karen wasn't wrong. You were a really terrible bakery employee. Our next post is from Richter1977. Okay, as stated in another post, the store I managed was connected to a McDonald's. One holiday when they were closed, I happened to be working. Not happily, as I was supposed to be off holidays, but someone called in, so I am busy stocking some items when I hear it. The huff of a wild Karen preparing to work itself into a tizzy. "Excuse me, there is supposed to be a red box in this location." Keep in mind, I'm not in the best of moods already, and this was said in the snottiest tone imaginable. Keeping an incredibly strained smile on my face, I tell her, yes, there is one over in the McDonald's. Here is where I committed my cardinal sin. Not usually working on the holidays, I had the audacity to forget that they weren't open today. Cue jerk mode level 9000. Ugh, obviously, since it's not in here. Could you go open the door so I can return my video? Now fully cognizant of the issue, I take a deep mental breath and tell her, I'm sorry, no, I don't have keys to their doors. They are a separate business. Initiate hypersonic Karen screech. BS, you are obviously employed by the same company. You are in the same building. Further attempts at reasonably explaining this is not the case falls on deaf ears. At some point, I have to take a break from trying to translate logic into crazy to check out a customer. At this point, Karen tells me, "You can ignore me all you like. I am not leaving until you help me." Being a helpful sort of fellow, I nod amiably and begin to write on a piece of paper, handing it to her after I finish. "What the heck is this?" "Well, you said you wouldn't leave until I helped you. Given your complete lack of ability to listen to reason, I have figured out your true problem, and I'm trying to help. This is directions to Centerpoint Hospital. They are great at dealing with mental illness or substance abuse, whichever your issue is." At this point, Karen lets out a screech like I don't think anything in nature has ever made a sound like that. "I want to speak to your manager." "Okay, let me go get him." I walk into the back room, walk back out again, and say what seems to be the problem. She is now sputtering incoherently and storms out the door, spewing invectives, and what I can only presume were threats to contact corporate to get me fired. Bye, Karen, do come again. "Hello, is this McDonald's customer support? I want you to fire this person because they were extremely rude to me." "Ma'am, no one of that name works at that McDonald's." Mission accomplished. I win again." Our next post is from RedRoverLaws. "We moved into a new house a few years ago. 2 days after we get settled in, it's a gorgeous day, so I'm out tending the garden. If you live in Louisiana, you'll realize that nice days are few and far in between. It's hot and muggy. About 30 minutes after I start, this woman walks up beside the house. She compliments my garden and asks how much my services cost. So I told her, "Ma'am, I don't do services." About this time, my husband walks out and puts something into the car. So all's perfectly fine, right? Nope. This woman decides to call the police and tell them we are robbing the place. I don't know if her watching my husband caused this thinking as he was pulling stuff out of the house and into the vehicle or what. We were new neighbors, moved in like a few days prior, so you'd think she would have seen us moving. 3 cops show up a few minutes after she left. We didn't know she called the cops. They pull up while both of us are wondering what the heck happened. Maybe someone we knew died or our kid got arrested? Neither. They said we were called in as an active burglar. We had to prove it was ours. She didn't even talk to us about it or mention a robbery. Although I guess in the moment she just lost it. People are crazy here. What kind of stupid thief does gardening during the robbery? Sometimes I can't tell if these people are stupid or insane. Maybe a little bit of both? I think Uvula Jones down in the comments put it best. Yes, officer, we broke in and made a mortgage payment. Our next post is from Comic Seas 94. A few years ago, I worked a petrol station and the company owned supermarkets as well. My uniform was all black and had neon green edges on the polo with company petrol embroidered on the sleeves, back and front. The supermarket was white and green checkered shirts and couldn't look any different. After a shift one afternoon, I stopped by our company's supermarket across the road to get something for dinner and spotted one of our regulars who is a compulsive complainer. She once complained to me that our fuel pumps were too clean, just to give you an idea of the kind of woman I'm talking about. This is the interaction I had with her in full uniform at the produce section of the supermarket. "Excuse me, all your bananas are bruised. Go get some more." "Oh, sorry, I don't work here. I work across the road. The produce manager was just here. Go let him know." She says in a condescending tone, "I know you work across the road, but this is company. You work for company, so go fix this before I file a complaint." Go ahead, you'll look pretty stupid complaining about bananas being sold at a servo. The compulsive complainer huffs and storms off, returning quickly with the produce manager. "Excuse me, sir, this woman here told me you were very rude. I'm going to..." He stops mid-sentence and looks at my uniform. "What did you say to this woman, exactly?" "She demanded I get fresh bananas. When I told her I don't work here, she threatened to..." "He told me to F off. I'm now demanding you fire him." A random legend who had apparently been watching the whole time said, "Mate, you should F off, you entitled jerk. How stupid can you be?" She stormed out of the store. After I'd finished shopping, I walked back across the road to my car in the staff park outside my petrol station to see Compulsive Complainer in a heated discussion with my manager through the windows. I went inside to clear things up. "That's him! That's the rude man!" My manager said, "OP, can you explain what happened over there?" She demanded I get fresh bananas at the supermarket. When I let her know I didn't work there, she went off. "Don't lie, you stupid blank." "OP, can you come around behind the counter, please?" I go through the secure door to get behind the counter, looking obviously confused because Compulsive Complainer has a smug, "I got you now" look on her face. "Compulsive Complainer, you have to leave. My employee would never act this way, and we have a no tolerance policy on abusive customers." "I'll have your jobs for this. You can't treat a customer like this. Never in my life has anyone been so rude to me." My manager calmly says to me while she's screaming at us, "Call the police." Compulsive Complainer froze while I went to the phone and started dialing the police. She was obviously weighing her options, and for some reason, she thought her best course of action was to run. Now, I don't know if anyone's seen a 60-year-old plus woman in raised flats try to do a 180-degree turn and sprint across vinyl floors, but it resembled small kids trying to sprint across ice flats. I put the phone down. My manager printed her picture for the do not serve list, and we went on with our lives. She never came back while I was there, but I saw her today in the same supermarket complaining about something meaningless to a poor kid. That was rSlash I Don't Work Here Lady, and a lot of you have been asking me to start a podcast. Well, good news, I have recently started one. If you go down to the description of this video, you will find links to my Anchor.fm account as well to my Spotify account, where I have the new podcasts. Now, fair warning, I am 100% new to podcasts. I'm still kind of figuring out how things work, so there might be a few bumps in the road as I figure out the audio and where to upload and monetization and all that stuff, but hopefully pretty soon I will have podcasts for you guys.